It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's Karting today. Do yourself right with a little fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue. Got a big show lined up for you today, a big live show brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales. Get them online at archerpurdue.com. All right, we're going to recap last night's race at Bristol. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the news stories that have broke since then, including, I'm going to try to refrain myself just a little bit, including a not-so-intelligent fan that decided he needed to take matters into his own hands and apparently try to fight Kyle Busch.
I'm thinking there was maybe some Busch involved in that.
Very possibly.
In the kind.
And we'll get into it a little bit later if I don't just stumble into it now, but how stupid of a thing that is, that could ruin a lot of good things for a lot of fans. But we'll get into that here in a little bit in turn number one. Turn two. The story that's been going around the news, August 3rd, Anthony Roth's engine was claimed at I-80 Speedway. On Saturday night at Columbus Speedway, his MSD box, or no, excuse me, that was a different night his MSD box was claimed, but he had other parts claimed. He had his, I can't remember it exactly. He talks about it in the interview of what was done to his engine, but he was basically put to the test on if his equipment was legal. And we're going to talk with Kevin Larkins, general manager at Speedway Motors, who was in charge of the claim process at I-80 Speedway on Friday, August 3rd, and then we'll get Anthony's opinion about it later on after that interview too. That's coming up in turn number two. So we'll get that whole lowdown on what's going on. I think there's a lot of questions that were answered regarding Anthony's equipment. You're going to have to listen in turn number two to find out how that was answered. Turn three, a new buddy of ours, Grant Nelson, Iowa Gambler 500 organizer, joins us to preview their race coming up this coming Friday and Saturday throughout mid-Iowa.
He did a Facebook Live the other night. They cut the body off of a pickup. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got basically an engine, a dashboard, a firewall, and some seats. Yeah. And that's what they're planning on running in the Gambler.
It's a Mad Max looking race, and I would love to be the old farmer sitting on his porch Saturday afternoon, enjoying a cup of iced tea, maybe a Busch Light, and watching some of these cars drive by and wondering what the heck is going on, because it looks like it's straight out of Mad Max when these guys start flying by.
Yeah, old farmer's going to be thinking the apocalypse or something's happening.
We're going to talk to Grant in turn number three, get you set for that. There's still time to get your car built, bought, and ready to go. Well, you're going to want to buy it, then build it, and get it ready to go for this weekend's race. And you can get more information.
It's not a race.
Iowa Gambler 500, the event. Excuse me. And then turn number four, Joey Ciechanowski is going to join us from Buena Vista Raceway. The Beaver has wrapped up their 2018 season, so we'll talk to Joey about how that all unfolded and plans for next year. All right.
Great little track. If you
Absolutely.
ever get next year, you got to get up there, folks. If you're a Sunset Speedway fan, it's the closest thing to Sunset that I've seen in the area. Get up there and take a watch.
And let's talk about Bristol Motor Speedway last night. Rain in the area, and so they moved the start time up about an hour, right at about an hour, and we got the race underway. No issues with rain all night long last night?
Nope, but moving the start of the race up, I think some of the drivers were still thinking they were in their motor coaches playing video games the way they started the race.
I heard there was a big accident right off the get-go.
Yep, the gentleman of the weekend, Mr. Kyle Busch, got a little loose and started a massive deal. Had over a dozen cars involved. A couple guys did have to retire. Bubba Wallace, A.J. Allmendinger had to retire out of it. Put the noses into the radiator type thing. A lot of guys, including Kyle Busch, had a ton of cosmetic damage. Kyle Busch came back to almost lead the race later with no rear bumper cover and timely pit stops and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But, it was a crazy start to that race.
And looks like you're talking Greg Galding. Looks like he was involved in that. A.J. Allmendinger. Bubba Wallace, was he involved in that, or was that a different incident?
No, Bubba Wallace was involved in that lap 2 incident.
And then was Michael McDowell. He got 10 laps completed, but
then he must have had something that they were working on. They were probably trying to do the repair clock and running around the track. Every time they went around, they got a lap in.
Those guys all finished in the back of the field. Bad day for Paul Menard, who finished 36th after only completing 28 laps. Jesse Little, 35th. Let's see, Eric Almirola, 428 of the 500 laps completed, finished 31st on the day. 5th in Stage 1, 4th in Stage 2. Didn't, he led 2 laps 2 different times. He led a lap 2 different times. So it looked like it was going to be a good day for him, but his day came to an end quickly.
Yeah, Paul Menard started up towards the front, and he missed the melee, but he was having all kinds of problems after the restart, and he eventually had a tire go down into the wall.
Okay.
End your day.
Of course, we saw that there's video going around of Kyle Busch getting into Martin Truex Jr. coming out of turn number 4. I didn't get to see the race. I can't really throw an opinion out there, but was it malicious, or was it just good hard racing?
It was, he just misjudged something. They all get single file on the high line down the straightaway, and that's what he was trying to do. And, if he'd had another inch, he'd have made it, but he didn't have that inch. And when you're at full speed, full acceleration on a short track like that, the back of your car is pretty light. And he just barely touched him, but it was enough to put him in the wall. And
the interview with Martin Truex Jr. after that, was he upset? Did it seem like there was going to be some bad blood?
I doubt there'll be any bad blood, because Kyle Busch, when he got interviewed at the end of the night, he took full responsibility.
Yeah.
And he didn't mean to do it. Obviously, it's a teammate, for lack of a better sense of the word, but they'll probably argue once about it, and then they'll kiss and make up.
And a teammate that, what's going on over there is really, really interesting. They've announced, them being Furniture Row Racing has announced that Martin Truex Jr. doesn't have full sponsorship for 2019, but they have every intention of racing the 78 car in 2019. But Martin Truex Jr. put out a statement, says he's not ruling out switching teams for 2019, because if Furniture Row Racing can't afford to pay him, then he's got to find himself a different team. And that's what it really, unfortunately, what it comes down to. And it's really amazing to watch that your defending champion and one of your big 3 possibly would be leaving the organization because he doesn't have enough sponsorship dollars to stay in that 78 ride.
Well, Barney Visser's already said in 2019 we're racing. And we're going to race the full season.
But
Furniture Row's got a pretty good-sized bankroll.
Right.
But obviously you don't want to do it just at the local level. Even you don't want to race on your own dime if you can race on somebody else's dime. I would be surprised if he moves, but obviously somebody's talking to him and probably throwing some big numbers.
And we know that Stewart-Haas Racing is looking for somebody to enter the negotiations with Kurt Busch. Now, whether Kurt Busch is already done deal, he's not racing the 41, and they just haven't announced it yet. There's been rumors going around that he's going to RCR.
Well,
and that Monster Energy is leaving Stewart-Haas also, which would make you put the 2 and 2 together and say Monster Energy and Kurt Busch are going to a different team. So that leaves the 41 available, which Casey Kane said earlier this week that he's not interested in it.
Yeah, and he must, be very serious about stepping away.
Absolutely.
To turn that ride down.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting, the carousel that's going to be going on. The silly season is in full swing, and we'll have to see how it all kind of plays out. But Martin Truex Jr., wherever he goes, I think the smartest thing for him to do, even if he went somewhere and only got paid $1 to race, the smartest thing he could do is take Cole Pearn with him. Because Cole Pearn has been the big difference in his career. Martin Truex Jr. hasn't all of a sudden got incredibly talented over the last 2 or 3 years. It's Cole Pearn. We've seen it with Kevin Harvick. He didn't all of a sudden get incredibly talented over the last 5 years. It's Rodney Childers. Jimmy Johnson had Chad Knaus. All the great drivers have a great crew chief that is helping them navigate this circuit.
Well, it's just somebody they click with.
Absolutely.
They're on the same wavelength. When Martin Truex says, I'm just a tick tight, Cole Pearn knows what a tick is.
Mm-hmm.
He's, he doesn't come back. Well, is that 6 turns or is that 2 turns? He said, okay, I got you.
They know exactly what it is. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
All right. So getting back to the race recap from Bristol Motor Speedway, Kurt Busch ends up getting the win on the day, but Kyle Larson was coming. He just ran out of laps. He needed it to be the Bristol night race 5:05, 5:06.
Nope, wouldn't have made any difference.
Okay.
He could have had another 100 laps. The only person that was going to catch Kurt Busch almost caught Kyle Larson, and that was Chase Elliott,
who ended up
third.
Yep.
But, I mean, he was on Kyle Larson's bumper, and he could have run down Kurt Busch. He was the fastest car on the track at the end of the race.
And like you said, Chase Elliott finishes third. Joey Logano brings it home fourth, and Eric Jones fifth. Good top 5 finish for Joey Logano. We don't see that a lot, especially after what happened with Joey Logano last year. But good to see him back up there in the top 5. Clint Boyer 6th, Ryan Blaney 7th, Alex Bowman 8th, Jimmy Johnson 9th, and Kevin Harvick 10th. I'm sorry, is that a typo? Is that Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah, he once he got into the top 10, he was there quite a bit. Where was he at in the 2 stages? One
10th
stage, I know
and 8th.
Yeah, the one where he run 10th, he had made he made an oddball pit stop in that one. Might have been that second stage, but yeah, he was, hanging. You look, he was 10th in one stage, 8th in one stage, and finished 9th. I'd say he had about a 9th place car. So.
Yeah. Well, good for him. I want to talk a little bit about the news reports going around that a fan tried to fight Kyle Busch. Now, unfortunately, because of the site that I'm seeing it from, I don't 100% believe it's true. I saw a video on that site of a couple of fingers being pointed and then people walking away. I'll just warn, I know there's not a huge amount of people that listen to this show because we're based in Omaha, Nebraska, but dirt track, IndyCar, NASCAR, whatever it is, don't go and fight the drivers, because before you know it, this stuff starts happening often. We're going to close the pits, and you're not going to be allowed to go in there and experience this kind of stuff. We get to be fortunate enough to do the Pick'ems contest with the Crewman for a Day. That'll go away if a driver ever gets hurt to the point where it affects their ability to be on the track. NASCAR will take that all away, and we'll have, quite frankly, the one thing that we have left over all other professional sports, that our fans have unfettered, unprecedented access to the drivers.
We're second to NHRA. NHRA, anybody can get a pit pass and go up and see the drivers.
Race. I'm including them in that bunch too. But even though I keep saying NASCAR, but it could happen on the dirt track level too. As soon as those races end, the gates open up, fans could go in, and I've seen guys that go down on the front stretch and try to start stuff with winners, and that's just stupid. It's just plain stupid, because now, we were just talking about 2 guys that got into an incident last night. I posted on my Facebook page a car that got destroyed. The parent of one of the drivers goes and starts screaming at the parent of the driver. They're trying to pull out of the car to see if the guy's still even alive. And you come and watch video later, and it was driver B that caused the entire thing that almost hurt driver A. And so in the heat of the moment, you got to shut your mouth and walk away and let it go. But I mean, I'm really worried that if these things keep happening, because it's happened again already this year. Who was it? Was it earlier this year or late last year that somebody got into it with Ryan Newman? There was a drunk fan that got into it with Ryan Newman, or maybe it was a pit crew to Martin Truex Jr. I can't remember.
Last one I remember getting into it with Ryan Newman was Jeff Gordon at Dover last year. But yeah, it's hard telling. I don't catch all the stories, but having been around that stuff, you see it. Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunate. I really, really, really caution people on that. I realize that when the alcohol gets to flowing, the good decisions take second fiddle. But you gotta exercise a little bit more caution. We have such a unique thing that we're able to do in this racing community. We're able to get down and meet these heroes, meet these drivers, and that could easily go away with one bad incident. And I really worry that it's getting close because these incidents are happening more and more. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We're going to sit down with the legend, Kevin Larkins, the general manager for Speedway Motors, and talk about the Anthony Roth situation with his sport modified at I-80 Speedway on August 3rd. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Hi, this is Brad Keselowski, 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 2, and time to sit down with a local legend. And I know he's a local legend because it's in his nickname, Kevin the Legend Larkins, a manager over at Speedway Motors and a former racer. Are you fully retired, Kevin, or are you just taking some time away from the dirt track world?
As of right now, I'm retired. I haven't raced at all in the last 2 years, but that don't mean we haven't thought about doing it again.
Right.
So it depends on the opportunities and time.
It's a lot like a drug. You can put it down 1 week, 6 years later, you'll pick it right back up again and not miss a beat.
That's possible.
Great to have you on the show. We've never had you on before, and I'm sorry that I wanted to have you on because of what kind of a dramatic situation that happened a couple of weeks ago at I-80 Speedway with Anthony Roth and his modified and sport mod. But while I have you on the show, I wanted to talk about your introduction into dirt racing. Kind of get some background for the people that know of Kevin Larkins, but not necessarily how he got into racing. Can you kind of take us through how you got into dirt racing?
Oh, the way it got started, I think my parents took me to Beatrice Speedway when I was probably 14 or so, and I said I wanted to have one of them when I was 16, and I almost got it accomplished. I did own one by the time I was 17. So
wow, owner and operator by the time you were 17. Did you race karts, or did you jump into something bigger like a late model modified right away?
It was, so long ago. Back then, it was what they would have called the late model class at Beatrice, but it was basically a sportsman car. If you'd compared it to like Sunset Speedway back then, they had a sportsman, and then they had a higher, a late model class that would have been a little more technical than what I was running. But it was a top class at Beatrice.
Did you know at that point that you wanted to be heavily involved in dirt racing like you are today with your employment and everything you do over at Speedway Motors?
Oh, I think so. It was once I did it the first time, I did it pretty hard after that. So,
hey, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it big, right?
Right. That's kind of the way pretty much everything. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to try to do it as right as I can. So,
how many years did you race actively?
We'll put it this way. I started racing in '82, and I was been a junior in high school, and I've been racing ever since. So, except for I took a few years off that I did some pro fishing tournaments, and then I haven't raced at all here actively in the last couple of years. But I did it real seriously up until about 2001, and then did some ASA racing. Then I drove for Johnny Sadoff after that, so probably up till 2006, I guess.
What a contradiction. I mean, when you talk about going and racing or doing pro fishing for a while, I don't think of many dirt track drivers as pro fishermen because you've got to be calm and quiet, and those are two things that a lot of dirt track drivers are not.
Oh, it's competitive, and it's a pretty intense deal too. So
you can't be as loud as you can be at a dirt track though, because you'll scare the fish away.
Yeah, we're not quite as loud. I'm not very loud at the racetrack. It's just the car's loud.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some guys in the pits that are louder than the cars, though. I'm sure you've ran into a few of them.
Yep.
Where along your path did you run into working at Speedway Motors?
Oh, that would have been in about 95, somewhere around 95. I had my own race car shop, and I knew a guy that worked up here. I was driving like 45, 50 miles one direction every day and working 7 days a week, and wasn't getting overly rich at it. And he's like, you just need to get a 9-to-5 job. Come work here, and you can go home. You can have a holiday, you can have a weekend, and when you leave work, you're done with work until the next day. Mm-hmm. So he kind of talked me into it.
I bet it was real hard, huh?
Not really.
Yeah, something tells me that wasn't a hard conversation he had to have.
Nope.
And so you've been working there. Where did you start off at? Did you start off as I think you're a general manager there, right?
I am now. I started basically in sales, and then I got into doing some purchasing. I've worked in almost every department here, just doing different things or helped in different departments. So I know pretty much how everything runs here, even some of the computer stuff, which I'm not a computer geek, but I've been self-taught, and some people have taught me some stuff. So
you know enough to be dangerous.
That's about it.
You kind of talked about a little bit, although you're semi-retired right now, you wouldn't turn away the opportunity to go race again. Is there anything left in your career that you want to race? Have you ever raced a sprint car or a super late model, or is there anything you haven't raced that you want to?
I raced a sprint car a little bit way back when I was racing modified, and a guy had not a very good sprint car out at Eagle, and I raced it a couple nights. It wasn't the best car in the world, so it probably wasn't the best experience. And then I've run the super late models. I've raced in Phoenix against like Moyer and them guys. I've done about everything I wanted to do. I did the ASA deal till that bout broke me. The tire bills were horrible. And then my lack of pavement knowledge didn't do me no favors either. So
yeah, and it's even though you're still racing, it is a pretty different animal when you're racing on asphalt.
Yeah, I wish there was some more pavement tracks around, because that's something I would have liked to kind of fine tune myself on a little bit. But there's nothing really very, very close by here to really get a chance to get, to learn that deal. So no, I'd say around here I've done most everything that I've wanted to do. So
well, good deal. And still having fun over at Speedway Motors, right?
Yep, we got in fact, you talk about whether I want to go back and do something. Ron Hornaday built us a car for our trade show, and it's sitting in front of the counter right now. It's actually for sale, but they took it out and tested it. It's race ready. Took it out and tested it. I'm trying to get him to come up here and race it. Otherwise, he's trying to get me to take it out and race it. So somewhere along the line, we might drag that car out and race it. The rumor was we're going to race it next weekend at the Speedy Bill race, but that's not going to happen. So.
Oh, and remind me, I must have missed it. What kind of car was it that he built?
It's an IMCA modified.
Okay. And it should be nice to get him to come up here and race it.
Yeah, I'm going to get him up here somewhere along the line, whether he's got a kid that he helps comes up and drives it, or he races it, or we might take it out to I-80 and practice with it or do something. So, well,
let me know. Text me if that happens, and I'd love to get him on the show and help promote him coming up here and kind of talk about his career a little bit. So,
all right.
Let me know if that happens.
He's got a lot more to talk about than I got. So.
He's got a few stories. I bet you do too. You're just holding back a little bit on me.
He's got more than I got.
I've heard some of them. I think you might be right. Hey, so the second part of what I wanted to talk to you about was what happened at I-80 a couple of weeks back on. It would be a couple of weeks back now with Anthony Roth. If you don't mind, take me through what led up to you guys being at the racetrack that night and inspecting his engines.
Well, I'm there most every week anyhow, but there'd been some people complaining that they thought maybe he was cheating with his motors or something, and we work with I-80. Speedway Motors works with I-80, and so one of the solutions was, and it don't matter if it's him or anybody else, if they're winning a bunch and somebody thinks the motor might not be right, we'll Speedway and I-80's got together and we'll just take and swap an engine with them. So
if there's
that's
enough
kind of what.
So what you're saying, if there was enough rumors swirling around, because I've noticed it from the announcer's booth, that kid is fast. And I've even thought it in the back of my head. He's fast and he's smooth, but he's a little bit too fast for that class. And so I kind of wondered it too. So you guys just really wanted to dispel any of those rumors.
Right. And then there's actually what happened the other night. The 602s are supposed to have a plate on the side of the block that has the serial number of the motor on it, which is supposed to match the IMCA tags that are on top of it. Well, the motor he had in the other night, the plate had fell off, and so there was no plate on it. So then at that point, it looked like it potentially could even have been a 604 block instead of a 602. So the deal was pull it out. And at that point, Joe decided, and I talked to him about it too, that there was no, we didn't give him a motor that night. That's what it amounted to, just because we were uncertain with what we had. So, and then they brought it in here to our engine shop, and we basically inspected it internally and externally and tear it completely apart, but bore scoped it, and he actually had that motor repaired several years ago over at Carl's Performance, and the engine plate, apparently when they worked on it, fell off. He actually had the paperwork for the invoice for getting it repaired, and the plate was in a baggie that he dug up when he brought it down here, and we looked at it. So, and we checked it all out, and the numbers, everything matched, the IMCA seal numbers and everything matched with the plate. So told him he ought to glue it back on, and then we dynoed it, and everything checked out fine. It was actually a little short on power. It wasn't long.
So that was going to be my next question, is how hard is it for one of those plates to fall off? But he was able to prove that it came off during a repair session at Carl Performance a couple of years back.
That's correct. Yep, he had the plate in the bag. He had the plate in a baggie with an invoice from Carl's, and I actually called IMCA and verified the serial numbers, which checked back to a repaired engine from Carl's. So
all the paperwork lines up, everything's good there. And you guys said that when you took the motor back to Speedway Motors, you did tear it apart and do a pretty thorough inspection of it?
We didn't tear it apart, but Zach internally inspected. We took the distributor out, and he took a bore scope and looked inside and verified, the pistons and everything are right. It hasn't been tampered with, I guarantee it. So.
Okay. After that happens, now, is that Speedway Motors engine, or does that engine get returned to Anthony Roth?
We actually gave him a new engine, or a different engine. It was actually a motor that had been run very few nights. So he actually upgraded engines is what he did, because he took one that had a lot of nights on it and got him one that hadn't very few nights on it. So.
Well, what looked like a scary situation probably turned out to be a good one for him.
Yeah, for him it was great.
Yeah.
So.
And I've heard that you guys are a partner with him for his races at I-80 Speedway.
Yeah, through our dealer program and stuff, we do some engine stuff for him on both the A mod and the B mod. So
this is probably a big relief for you guys, because it could have been a bad situation if you were sponsoring somebody that had an illegal engine.
Oh, exactly. I mean, Joe's been getting complaints about things, and we've been getting the same complaints. So
it's funny how these
cleaned up a whole bunch of stuff right there in one spot.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard everything I have of. I mean, the things that people say that when he drives by, they can smell different types of fuel, and they've tested his fuel and he's passed. And they said you can hear the motor is turning higher RPM, so his chip's obviously bad. And then they tech his chip and it's fine. And so the guy's just dodging. I shouldn't say dodging, but he's passing tech inspection left and right.
Yeah, so far nobody's caught him with anything. They've took his MSD box at McCool Junction and sent it to MSD, and it checked out. And we took the motor and it checked out, or I didn't take the motor. It was actually I-80 Speedway, but yeah, I mean, and I know they've checked other things as good as anybody can check. So as far as anybody can tell, he looks as legal as they get. So.
All right, that's all you need to know, right?
Right.
Now everybody just got to go out there and find a way to beat him.
That's exactly right. So.
All right, what's in line for you for the rest of the year? You said you're out of I-80 Speedway most of the time, and you're going to try to get that Ron Hornaday modified out on the track one of these days, right?
There's a good chance of it.
Okay.
If we get him out here, we'll do that. Car should show up somewhere along the line, whether I'm driving or not. Who knows? So.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I really do appreciate your time this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe we'll be able to run into each other down at I-80 Speedway.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Have a good day.
Yep, you too.
How true those words ended up being, because we literally ran into each other that Friday night at I-80 Speedway, and Kevin stirred up some more controversy, which we're going to have to get to next weekend. We'll see how that controversy comes out, but I got to get the full story again, but they were down there tearing out Matthew Andrews' engine after he'd won his race, the Sport Modified race on Friday night at I-80 Speedway. So I think Kevin's just trying to get on the show more often. He was tired of not being on the show, so he's stirring up a bunch of stuff.
Could be it.
I wanted to get Anthony's opinion of it, so later on that night, after the races were over with, I caught up with Anthony in the 60 IV pits. Started off by asking him if he'd heard any of these rumors about him cheating.
We've heard all kinds of rumors. I was souped up 602. It was a 604 turned into a 602. It just everything and anything people could come up with, they were letting it out there, and I just laughed every time somebody said something to me.
Is it flattering or is it degrading?
Just flattering, We spend a lot of time in the shop working on our cars, make them fast. There's no reason to cheat the motor.
But it's got to be frustrating when you're out there winning. You know your stuff's legal. You know it's coming down to you and your setup, but these guys won't believe it.
Yeah, exactly. I've had multiple people come out of the stands and say your car's so free, it gets through the corner a lot better. And it's because I've done my homework, And so you can have a motor that doesn't have any horsepower and still win because your car's free and gets through the corner.
Well, and to that point, like Kevin just said in his portion of the interview, your engine actually showed less horsepower than it should have.
Yeah, when they were going to pull it, it was actually funny. I was laughing the whole time. The crew was laughing. We knew the motor was going down. It didn't have much horsepower in it, but we wanted them to take it and go dyno it.
Talk about that procedure, because I'm pretty vague on the whole process between claiming an engine. They take your engine and they give you one. Is there any cash exchange?
No, there's no cash exchange. And actually, this is a NASCAR track, but IMCA, there isn't any rule about doing the engine swap deal. A track can take a motor, but this engine swap with the crate, never heard of until we came to this place. No big deal. We swapped it out. No money was exchanged. We swapped motor for motor, and away we went.
And now you've got a newer, cleaner engine than the one that was laying down. How many nights do you think was left on that engine?
Couldn't have been very many. I know there was over 100 on there.
Wow. And I think that engine's for sale over at Speedway Motors right now.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's a great engine. Good for anybody.
Talk to me about when they came down here, and they said, okay, we're going to take your engine. You had to pull the engine out that night. Take us through that.
Yeah, they pulled us into tech. They said, all right, pull the hoods. We pulled the hoods. They looked at the motors and said, all right, 60, you're getting your motor taken. And, at first the crew was like, are you serious? Come on, we don't really want to pull the motor out. But anyways, we cooperated. We brought it back over. After the race were over, there's 3 or 4 tech officials here watching us. We pulled it out piece by piece, headers, radiator, and everything. And then the wrecker came over and jerked her out of there for us.
Kevin had also talked about during his Sports Agenda interview that the tag for the engine had fallen off when it was over at Carl's Performance getting repaired.
Yeah, I didn't know this previously. We got the file back when we got the engine rebuilt from 2011 when it was rebuilt over there because we had a valve bend. They gave us a file back. My dad stuck it in his desk drawer. We pulled it out when we got home Saturday morning, and we found the tag that they thought was missing. We knocked off there, but it was actually just something Carl did and put it in there for us.
It's kind of one of those rare instances where it looks funny, but then you actually do have all the paperwork. So it kind of does justice that you keep all that stuff in a drawer somewhere.
Exactly. A lot of people throw that stuff away from a long time ago. This is back in 2011. We still had it in our desk drawers, and we moved shops, and we've moved offices, and we still got it around.
How lucky, though. I mean, you could have been in a world of trouble if you'd have just misplaced that piece of paper.
Yeah, they said if we didn't have any of that, we would have been DQ'd on the spot, and I would have lost my points for the night, and I would have lost the points lead I had that night and everything.
And it's a good thing. I think the Speedway, when I've talked to Joe Koziski and them, and I talked to Speedway Motors with Kevin Larkins, and it kind of seems like one of those things that you're kind of one of the badges of honor around the track. You're winning so strong, you're doing so well, that it would be a really terrible thing if you were cheated up, but now they've gone through this entire process, and you're perfectly legal.
Yeah, exactly. They took it, they dynoed it, they did what they had to do, and it shut everybody up for the most part. There's still some people out there bickering and this and that, but it's like, come on, guys, you can see the dyno sheets. Joe said he'll show you.
Yeah, it's Black Helicopter's thing. They're never going to believe you. I mean, they could tear that car apart, and they still wouldn't believe that it's perfectly legal.
Exactly. The funny thing is, not to jump to the A-mods, but the next time at McCool Junction, they had Dave, the head guy from IMCA, and they did a cam doctor test on the A-mod motor the exact same night. Everyone's complaining about my A-mod motor, the same thing. And they went through the entire thing at McCool Junction.
How satisfying is it when those reports come out on Facebook and they say, we took the 60 IV of Anthony Roth, we dynoed it, we tested it, we went through all the different stuff with your sport mod, and then the modified the next night, both sanctioning bodies come back and say, it's legal.
It's the best feeling in the world. You can put that out there on Facebook and social media, and people, it just shuts them up for the most part, and then they're back to, well, he's cheating this or he's cheating that. Well, I've had my MSD box taken this year at McCool Junction. I got my shocks claimed at McCool Junction. It's all been done. It's been gone through. There's nothing illegal on that car.
As much as I would love to say that's the end of that, it's definitely not. I mean, Friday night at I-80 after everything happened, Saturday night, last night at Eagle, there's still talks about how Anthony is cheating that car up. And, that's unfortunately the inevitable, I say consequences to being a winning driver. Is that people don't want to admit that you could possibly be beating them based on talent or setup or this. It's got to be cheating.
Well, it's even more so because he has been caught cheating.
He has a history.
So,
absolutely.
I mean,
and to be honest with you, there's very few guys in those pits that haven't been DQ'd.
Oh no.
For any one of reasons of things.
I'll bet it's under 10%.
All right.
Now, have guys had to fix stuff on their car? Yeah. But actually DQ'd, I'll bet it's less than 10%.
Good point. All right, and I wanted to update you guys on the points. Anthony didn't finish the feature on Friday night at I-80 Speedway, and that allowed Sean Harker to tighten the points. They're going to go into the last points night coming up on September 2nd for the Championship Sunday, and they're going to be tied with Matthew Andrews, the guy who had his engine pulled on Friday night.
Don't
he
they
is
have a race
18
this weekend?
points behind. The Speedy Bill Smith is on Friday, so no NASCAR points night. night.
Okay.
No. So that's just one more night to go. And, I mean, what a great race that's going to come down to. I can't wait to watch those two battle it out for the championship because it's going to be – neither of those guys are going to pull any punches when it comes to turning laps at I-80 Speedway for the final race.
You said that's Sunday night, Labor Day weekend?
Yes, September 2nd.
So which track are you going to be at?
I'm going to be at I-80 Speedway.
Okay. Well, they got
the
other deal going on down the road. That's
I know.
I
wish we would move Championship Sunday to Friday, but you know.
Well, having Championship Sunday on Friday just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even in Nebraska. Now, you guys might do that in Iowa.
Well, no. You guys haven't heard of what a championship is for about 25 years, so we won't worry about that.
Yeah, I know there's Championship Sunday just here in 2 weeks.
All right, we're going to was there something else? Oh, yeah, we needed to say condolences for a racer that passed away.
The Tanner family, local area guy that's crewed on his brother's car, made a lot of friends at the racetrack. I never heard him complain, even though he had a myriad of health issues, but Tim Tanner passed away this past weekend.
I know he helped Nick Steyer on his crew just recently.
He helped the Steyers. He helped his brother Bob race Pro-Am cars out at Sunset for years. But again, this guy, I don't know if he had some diabetic issues and stuff, but he'd had some amputations and whatnot, was in a chair the last few years. But you never heard him complain about it. So, you know, he was always had a positive attitude at the track, and he would help anybody at any time.
We're definitely sending our thoughts and prayers. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. Grant Nelson of the Iowa Gambler 500 will join us, and then Joey Ciechanowski of the Beaver will be just around the corner in turn number 4. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Today's live show on the front stretch brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales, located at 14227 S Street in Omaha. Open up today at noon, and you can find them online at archerpurdue.com. Dirk, what's our deal of the day?
They have got a 2009 Chevy Tahoe LT for $17,900, loaded up, obviously. Get out there and take a look. You can check it out, again, at archerpurdue.com, or you can give them a call at 402-891-1100. They're located at 14227 S Street, just west of the Amazing Pizza Machine, and it's the original home, I should say, of the $149 a month payment.
Thanks to Archer Purdue Auto Sales for bringing us today's live show on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around their professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Hey, this is Courtney Forrest, driver of the Advanced Auto Parts Funny Car, and you're listening to the Metro's only all-racing talk show, The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 3, and it's time to sit down with another one of these gambler guys. You know, we talked to the Nebraska Gambler 500, Joel, quite a bit when they've got an event going on, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of camaraderie, great stories leading up to, and quite a few stories afterwards. And there's going to be a similar event going on in Iowa for the Iowa Gambler 500, and we're joined by Grant Nelson, one of the organizers for the event. Grant, how you doing, sir?
Hey, doing all right.
Appreciate you coming on the show. We are excited to help promote it any way we can. I know there's a couple of rules, and they change depending on the state that they're in. Gambler 500 in Nebraska has their set of rules. Do you guys have a separate set, or did you kind of copy what they do?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just one main rule. Everything else is kind of a guideline. The only real one rule is don't be a...
Yep, okay. I couldn't tell if it was that one or
radio,
have...
But,
Oh, no, that's the rule.
Listen, with some of our interviewees, we've got a sound effect for bleeping out words. Don't you worry about a thing.
Perfect.
And we get good use out of it with some of these drivers. But so don't be a Rule number one, and then obviously try to have as much fun. But it sounds like that I was reading some of the descriptions of the event, and maybe this isn't necessarily a rule, more of just kind of a catchphrase, but about $500 for the cars. You don't want to get a real expensive car out there, but you got to find that balance that will get you across the finish line.
Yeah, the idea is obviously it's a free event. The joke is you get what you pay for. The less capable or the more obscure your car is, the more bragging rights you get if you make it all the way to the finish.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sure, if you can find some $200 car that has a title and you can put her on the road and drive it and it makes it all 500 miles, you've kind of got one up on the guy that has a $1,000 off-road rig. And, if you've got some sitting low to the ground, big old 70s boat of a car versus the guy that's got some kind of Jeep or something big on big wheels and tires, he looks silly because you just went up the same hill that you got through. So,
yep.
If you don't really care what you have, there's all kinds of deals out there on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or wherever you want to look for a good deal on a car.
Well, and it's also, you get the bragging rights of your mechanical ability. If you can take the $200 car and, throw 16 hours worth of elbow grease into it and $100 worth of parts, and get through something like this. I know that's what Andrew's pretty good at.
Yeah, that's the kind of the fun of it is maybe you find some old car that nobody else wants, and you can kind of get some more life out of it. I personally had a $500 S10 pickup, and I had about 18,000 miles on it. Some running around locally as a daily, even though it was a gambler car, is all painted up funny. But some of it was driving to and from different events, run 500 miles in the event, and then limping the thing back home. So,
right.
So you figure your cost per mileage on that, and I was beating the government rate by a good little bit. So,
and it does need to be street legal. You can't have something with no blinkers and no brake fluid. no tail lights.
Yeah, you have to be street legal. So for the mandatory equipment for that model year of vehicle, I mean, you're driving on public roads. We get this question a lot. Does it have to be registered? Do I have to have insurance? I'm like, well, do you ordinarily have to have insurance and registration to drive on public roads? Generally, the answer there is yes, but you have to explain it time and time again. So
yeah. If you get stopped, you're responsible for your ticket.
Absolutely. You're responsible for yourself. That's what's neat about this is it's not a high competition. It's not a big money prize you're going after. The number one rule being what it is, it kind of gets people with the right mindset. You're there to kind of help each other out along the way because you're on your own. If you decide to go down some road that has that neat little yellow sign that says enter at your own risk, level B road, and you get stuck, nobody's coming for you. So maybe that other team might help you out. Maybe you're out there on your own with a winch or whatever you got figured out to get back out of there. But that's kind of thing. If you break down the side of the road, you're on the side of the road with the tools and you're wrenching, trying to figure it out. A lot of teams will run in a group, 2-3 cars. So by the time one guy has a wheel bearing go out, there's somebody can haul him into the auto parts store and haul him back to his car or whatever it might be.
Talk to me about the start and the finish. Where are you guys kicking this thing off? Where and when are you kicking it off?
It's going to be Saturday morning. I believe that'd be the 25th of August to be coming right up here. It's going to start roughly 8 a.m. We've got our Facebook page. We've posted the GPS coordinates. Basically, it's the entrance to the Les Hills Hideaway Campground.
Okay.
Camping's not a mandatory part of the deal. A lot of people like to have a place to camp. Some live locally, might just run home, but kind of at the end of their driveway, we're just going to take off from there, send a car every minute or so. That way they're not, 50 cars all showing up at the first checkpoint all at the same time. Try to string people out a little bit. But, and then I guess on that sheet of paper people will have the final checkpoint. That's part of the excitement is you don't really know where you're headed next. I know in the Nebraska Gambler list last spring, I guess we hit this marker and monument, and it was on the Kansas-Nebraska line. Heck, we've been driving the last hour or so in the state of Kansas. Heck, I didn't even know we were in Kansas. You're on a dirt road somewhere, you might cross the state line, might not even know it. So that's kind of the neat thing is not too far from that starting location, we will have the ending location, and it'll be the last checkpoint on the sheet of paper, but it'll be something really neat, and we've got some stuff kind of in store for that.
I'm looking at some of these pictures for the Gambler, and I think one of my favorite thing about it is how creative people get with these cars. Because more than just going and throwing $200-300 into a car and a little elbow grease and some time, they get really creative, and I'm talking Mad Max creative.
Oh yeah, well, that's the neat thing about it is you're limited to your own creativity, and I'm pretty handicapped myself, but a lot of people have a lot more creativity than I do, and anything and everything. And you don't think you have to overly decorate your car. Some of these guys guys will buy their $200, $300, $500 car the week before the event, 2-3 days before the event, and they just hop in and go. Maybe they paint it up funny and away they go. Some guys, they'll start on it 6-8 months in advance, and it doesn't even look like what they started with by the time they're all said and done. So it really just about anything flies. We highly encourage different designs, different costumes, themes. Some people really get into it. So it's a lot of fun.
Do you have like the bonus question deals where you pull in, say, some dam site maybe, and you got to read something off a sign and write it down?
We did a lot of that last year. The challenge there is you have somebody try to figure out something that how in the world they're going to come up with the answer. That makes it tough. Well, we had kind of for fun point system. The problem is you get 100 teams there, and it takes 5 minutes to score each team. Who wants to spend 500 minutes scoring the teams at the end of the day? You kind of want to figure out something to have some quick results and get everybody on the road home on Sunday. Again, it's you make it too competitive, and it kind of takes away from the fun of it. People start to get too serious. We're going to probably do something fun involving some gallon milk jugs. We're going to have, I'll go ahead and tell you without telling you everything. If you know what Southern California does at their gambler with people that come in too quick, we're going to do something similar to that. And it's interesting. So, yeah, we're going to make some fun of it. Last year we did something with some cheap poker chips, and we kind of rolled out a few to everybody at the start. And if somebody helped you out along the way, if somebody did something really, really neat and you just thought they really get it, maybe they have really the best theme, the best costume, best design, that's somebody maybe you want to give one of those chips to. If there's some big hole in the ground and you want to bet somebody that you can make it through or whatever, maybe you want to do something fun that way, but kind of make what you want with it. And then the team that ends up with the most chips at the end of the day or end of the second day, probably going to win some kind of award for having the chip leader, or kind of make some kind of fun, non-threatening, not too serious competition out of it.
Yeah, but Joel did something like that with Nebraska with some gold coins, and I ended up having to give a coin away because I did get stuck one time, and a guy in a Jeep pulled me out, so I popped him a coin. And I don't remember. Yep. They got like 5 bonus points or something, and you got docked like 1 point if you had to give one of your coins away. It wasn't that big a deal.
Yep. So we like to throw some stuff out there, make it interesting, and that's what's fun about the gambler is the gist of it. $500 car, you and your buddies, 2-day weekend, 500 miles, taking it easy, having some fun, seeing some sights you normally wouldn't see. Like that marker out there on the Kansas-Nebraska line from the survey. I would never known about it, never been there, never had a chance to see it. But Joel made it one of the checkpoints this year. And, there's going to be some neat stuff in western Iowa that not too far from Omaha that a lot of people have maybe never seen or heard of, and they'll get a chance to get an excuse to go out there and have a look at it. So.
And usually a pretty good party on Saturday night.
Yeah, we like to have a good time. Out in Nebraska, we had a really good time Friday night, and then we still had just as much fun. I got to watch out for those guys from Nebraska. I guess one of the guys decided to pull out the bottle and pass it around.
No.
And, of course, everybody was 21 plus. But it was a bottle of Listerine. I didn't see that one coming. So you guys do it a little different over in Nebraska. So
he must be.
Tell me it was something else in that bottle, but I think it looked a lot like Listerine. Everybody has really good teeth, really clean teeth over there.
We'll stick with that story. How's
that? Was that at Joel's campground on Friday night?
Yeah,
then? That's usually pretty wild.
Yeah, it's usually a good time. So.
Well, we've been talking with Grant Nelson, one of the organizers for the Iowa Gambler. You can get more information. Just search on Facebook, Gambler 500 Iowa. And we've also shared the 2018 event page. So you can get more information on that. Kicks off this coming Friday, August 24th at the Los Hills Hideaway near Moorhead, Iowa. There's also camping available that night, so take advantage, get a head start on that, because there is a couple of cabins still available when we record it, but those will go quickly once this goes out. So if you want to get to the campsites, make sure you get a hold of those guys pretty quickly. Again, Gambler 500 Iowa.
And if you're up in that area there around Mondamon and whatnot, keep a lookout for some oddball cars flying down your country roads up that way, because that'll be these guys.
If you live out in the country, and you usually get about 2 cars by your house a year, don't be too surprised when about anywhere from 40 to who knows how many really strange-looking cars drive by one day. And they'll be nice folks. They'll be smiling, waving, picking up trash along the side of the road. So they're all good folks, and they're not shouldn't be doing anything too bad out there. They're just having a little fun. So.
And I'm sure if you own a tractor or a heavy-duty four-wheel drive truck, you got an opportunity to make yourself some money. Just kind of cruise around in the area, and maybe you could pull some people out.
Yeah, we'll see how much rain we get next several days. Some of these roads might go soft, so we'll see what happens.
All right, Grant, we appreciate your time. Best of luck with the event coming up this weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
So, again, that was Grant Nelson of the Iowa Gambler. Get more information, Gambler 500 Iowa. Just do a Facebook search. You'll be able to pull it up, or head over to the Front Stretch Facebook page. It's one of the posts that we've done, we've put up recently within the last couple of days. We posted that up Thursday afternoon. So just scroll down our page. You'll be able to find the event page and get more information on that. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 4. Joey Ciechanowski of the Beaver Buena Vista Raceway will join us to recap the 2018 season. We'll be back on the Front Stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Hey race fans, this is Shaylee Bade, the driver of the 03 U.S. Army Hellgate Construction Carpetland Sprint Car. You are listening live to the Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch, rolling into turn number 4, about ready to wrap this baby up. Brought to you by Quaker Steak & Lube, the official watering hole of the Front Stretch. If you'd have headed over last night, you could have watched all the racing action from Bristol, as well as MAV TV on the big screens. They have all the racing action not only on the asphalt for NASCAR, but also MAV TV is constantly on the big screens at Quaker Steak & Lube. So make sure you head over throughout the rest of the racing season. I know that we're going to be organizing our Homestead viewing party now that we're getting very close to the playoffs. Also, we'll have our Chili Bowl viewing party, and we'll probably even do a Dirt in the Dome viewing party since I think Dirk's going to head down there. I'll see what my family vacation is going to be like if I'm able to get down there this year. But if not, we'll definitely do it at Quaker Steak & Lube, the official watering hole of the Front Stretch.
Do they serve chili at the Chili Bowl? Maybe we should go to that one. I like chili.
They do. They absolutely do. I think that is actually where they got the name from. Was this? It's special. It's one of their big recipes. Is they bowls and bowls of chili. Well, that's what I've been told. I may be incorrect.
That could be Tony Stewart's problem for spending too much time down there.
One of many. All right, joining us on the phone now, one of the new promoters in the business, just wrapped up his rookie season as promoter for Buena Vista Raceway, also known as the Beaver. Joe Ciechanowski joining us. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
We're enjoying another beautiful day in the Midwest, and glad you're able to join us. And, you know, honestly, I hate that I have to say this, but congratulations on finishing a season. That's a very tough thing to do in a rookie promoting effort.
Yes, it is. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you're absolutely right. You know, it's a, you know, you think you get your first race down under your belt, and you know, you think it'd get easier as it goes and whatnot, and it's just as much work and stress and everything else as getting your last one in as it is getting your first one in. So, you know, we had an awesome season up here. I couldn't be happier. We had tremendous amount of support from our, you know, our fans, our drivers, and our sponsors this year to make this season the success that it's been for us.
Well, so, I got to make championship night up there, and it was a nice, smooth show. I had a little hiccup getting the hobby feature run, and but I mean, I think you guys threw that final checker about 10 o'clock. So for a Wednesday night show, that's getting done at a good time, and you know, everybody was cordial. All the officials I chatted with were, you know, nice people, and announcers seemed to do a real good job. You know, good old fairgrounds type track with the covered grandstand and everything. It was, you know, nice atmosphere and a good night for racing.
Yeah. No, we have our staff here is just done an awesome job. You know, they just everything I could ever ask, you know, from them, they get done and they do it. They do it efficiently and you know, very, very nice, just good people. You know, I couldn't be happier with the group of people that we assembled this year, and from volunteers to people that, help out on race night. We just had a ton of people come out of the woodwork this year to help us out. And definitely a team effort, I guess. I'll leave it at that. And I think when we talked this spring before we got started, I, was had a pretty big emphasis on trying to run a fast and efficient show. And our goal every week's 10 o'clock. And I think we hit it exactly. I think the modifieds took the checkered flag. I looked at my phone to send out a radio to the crew, thanking them and letting them know, awesome job. And it was exactly 10 o'clock.
So anything over the year, as your first year wearing the promoter hat, that surprised you, or was everything pretty much what you expected? And is there a future in the promoting deal for Joe here?
Well, those are all good questions, I guess. Some of it, comes down to, digesting a little bit yet and trying to figure out, just how it really went. It seems like it wasn't that long ago when we were talking this spring and we were getting amped up for our first race and everything. And it just seems like snap of the fingers and the weeks maybe drug on, but now looking back on it, it seems like it all just blended together and it just happened fast. It seems weird to think of it that way, but it really has. So some of that's tough for me. We had some great specials. That sprint car deal was a big thing. I think if I was going to reschedule that, did it work out well for us to have it our second week? Yes, it did. But it being a new promoter, a rookie promoter, if you will, I don't know if maybe throwing a sprint car race out there is something that we've never done before at Buena Vista Raceway was a very good idea. But we had a lot of help from different tracks. I had Kurt Andreessen and Ryan that work up at Park Jefferson and Jackson come down. They're on the safety crews for both those tracks, and they kind of Rod Olson came up and gave us a hand, and he helped me getting cars in lineup and whatnot. So we had a good team assembled to make that thing run smooth. But that was a great special for us. Our hobby stock special, the Jimmy Squibb Memorial, went well. Our sport mod special was good in the end of June. We kind of stacked all of our specials almost right together. We ran our sprint car special. The next week we had our hobby stock. Then we had just a regular week in there. And then I think there was 4 specials right together then, So a guy learns a lot from this deal. And maybe, we saw our end of July maybe slow down a little bit. Well, maybe we should have spread some of those specials out a little bit more. But our dirt nights let me back up. Our Kyle Sitter Memorial Stock Car Special, unbelievable. I mean, we had great racing action. That feature was I've had more people come up, including myself. I will vouch for this. I've been to a lot of races over the years, probably one of the best feature races I've seen, and a lot of people agreed or brought that to my attention, too. But we had 109 cars that night total. Nice. I think we had 37 stock cars, packed house. Larry and Desi Suter that put that on or put the Kyle Sitter Memorial on, just huge supporters of racing. They made that thing as big as what it was, and then we came back and we had our Dirt Nights modified touring race the end of July there, and that was great. We had a good turnout of mods. Hunter Marriott won. He was, it was good racing. Then we ended up throwing 2 weeks later, we threw in August 8th, we threw 1,000 to win mod deal up, kind of spur of the moment, because they had the Harris Clash up in Spring Valley, Minnesota, or Deer Creek Speedway, I should say. And with them guys having the Wednesday off between the Harris Clash and the Night of 1,000 Stars in Britt, Iowa, all them big hitters for the IMCA Modifieds running right around the northern part of the state of Iowa. We kind of threw something together last minute with some help with some sponsorship from Jerry Plowman and Fireproof Plus, and we got a lot of them guys back again. So we really lucked out there. Hunter come back. Chris Abelson ended up winning that night, but it was a heck of a battle between Hunter again and Kyle Strickler from North Carolina was up for both those races, and just a solid field of modifieds those 2 nights. And as far as my future goes as being a promoter, I've been telling everyone the exact same thing. Is I'm not saying 100% yes, but I'm definitely not saying no. And I think if we can digest these numbers and go through things and financially we can say, yes, we can continue to keep racing and it was feasible to keep going, then I think you'll see me back again for next year. That's kind of the way I'm approaching that decision anyway. But looking forward to it. I couldn't ask for a better year. I couldn't ask for a better staff, and like I said, the support from our racers and the fans and our sponsors has been what's made our year as successful as it's been. I can't thank them enough.
Having been up to the facility now and everything, you guys have the type of track that would really put on a good show if you ran something like the Malvern Bank SLMR series up there or something. If you ever looking maybe to try and put that in there, I think they would put on a heck of a show at your facility.
Yep, absolutely. I'm a big late model guy, and some of those specials, for a first-year guy coming out, not kind of knowing exactly what to expect. We can bank off of previous numbers and try to do some of that, but to some extent, you don't know, I think going into another year, if this thing continues to go or I can continue to do it, let me rephrase that. I think that's something that we definitely need to look into, is now kind of having our feet wet a little bit. I kind of know, hey, if we're going to pay out this much, this is kind of what we need to have for cars, and this is kind of what we need to have for people in the grandstand and whatnot, to where it's not as much shooting into the dark, I guess, is what it was this first year. We did, our Dirt Nights mod special. That's a pretty good sized purse. I can tell you there were some sleepless nights and there was some heartburn involved in those week or two before and getting up to that deal.
Joey, we do appreciate your time. Get more information on the track that sits over in Alta, Iowa at buenavistaraceway.com. And we'll catch up with you soon. Let us know when that awards banquet is. Maybe we can run over there and talk with a few of your champions.
Man, that would be awesome to have you guys up here. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you guys, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all your work. Great year this year, and we look forward to talking to you for 2019.
Sounds great. Thanks. Again,
Joey Ciechanowski of Buena Vista Raceway, also known as the Beaver, located in Alta, Iowa. Great racetrack, and it's great to hear. They only got about 60, 65, 70 cars, but when you compare that to tracks like Sunset, it looks bad. But when you compare that to tracks today, that's adequate. That's good. That's getting average. By. Because it's way too expensive of a sport. There's not a lot of drivers out there that could do this much anymore. And for a Wednesday night racetrack, I think that's a pretty good get for a first year.
Well,
first year coming back, because they were in business last year, but they had to close down at the end of the year, and then Joey jumped in and helped reopen it.
Yeah, and there's no way they could even get close to being done by 10 o'clock if they